How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Love, Laughs, and Lessons. And this is the Let's Talk About Sex series. And we have, for the second week in a row, the same guest because she's so amazing and so interesting and has so much to share with all of us. So go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back, guys. I'm Denise Rai, co-host here with Dr. Frankie and our guest, Bev Mitelman. She is a certified attachment theory practitioner who brings a unique depth of understanding to the table. Bev's insight into relationships is not only academic, but also deeply personal. If you didn't tune in to episode 1, you're going to want to do that because it was a blast. So she is the founder of Securely Love, where she turns the chaos of insecure attachments into the harmony of love and secure connections. Her work is all about making real substantial changes by tackling the subconscious patterns that often guide our behaviors. I just want to jump right in. This conversation was so good that we almost started it before recording the podcast. We're just all into it. So welcome back, Bev. So happy to have you and ready to jump right in.
Thank you to both of you. I'm thrilled to be back. Yeah, this certainly had a great conversation. I'm happy to continue.
So yeah, like we left off, if my memory serves me well, we left off in like on the topic of dating and how to kind of get a feel or assess if what someone's kind of attachment style is, or if you are even interested in seeing them again. So yeah, let's give us some guidance.
Yeah, let's dive into that. So, we all have our deal breakers. For me, my deal breaker when I'm dating is emotional dysregulation, which means if I get a sense that the person is not emotionally regulated, I pull back. But I'm gonna kind of contextualize this for a moment. So, a little bit about me and how I ended up here today. So I was married really young. I will take you back to 1997 when I met my husband, and we were together 23 years. And we had two beautiful kids, and we separated 4 years ago at the height of COVID. And so, not only do I do this work as a relationship and attachment trauma practitioner, but I was also a 45-year-old at the time, newly separated woman re-entering into the dating world.
Mhm.
My last exposure to the dating world again was 1997. So,
A long time ago.
It's
I mean,
scary
Yeah.
to think,
Yeah.
how am I gonna jump back in now?
I had no idea that the world had changed so much. I had heard from friends and that, of course I had seen and heard about dating apps. I had never used them, never. And so here I am as like a new single woman, and I opened my first Tinder account. And I didn't even know how to set it up. I didn't know that, do I swipe left? Do I swipe right? I'm swiping the wrong way.
And we all know there's more no's than yeses. So just
I
tip
don't know
that
what
scale.
I'm doing. You know, so re-entering as like a middle-aged woman has been a whole life lesson in itself, and it's really augmented my understanding of obviously relationships and dating in today's sense, right? So it's helped me to be a much better therapist. But I have to tell you, like, when I first met my husband in 1997, things were simple. They were so simple. We ended up, I was 20 years old. I mean, a baby. He was 19, he was even younger. And we went to a community event together, and we kind of looked at each other and we thought we were cute. And we sat next to each other. And then at one point, under the table, he took my hand and he held it. And we left this community event together. And that was it. We were together for 23 years. Like, as simple as it gets. So you can imagine my experience when I come back into the world, and all of a sudden there are categories and categories and subcategories of the subcategories, right? You have things like
Right.
friends with benefits, and you have things like situationships and people who are emotionally unavailable and people who are, dismissive avoidant. And all of this is just didn't exist 25 years ago. We didn't talk about it. It was simpler. So the world of dating, I think, has become incredibly complicated. And
Agreed.
I have experienced it firsthand. And my assessment of all of this is that people are more scared than ever to
Mm-hmm.
connect truly to their emotions and to connect to someone else. And I don't know if the two of you would agree with me, but even the word relationship scares people,
Well,
Because
now
we
right?
have
the
so many
terms like,
different definitions. So what does that mean for you? This is what it means for me, and this is what it means. It's never the same meaning, or very rarely is it the same meaning, right?
also the younger generations, like I'm Generation X, the Gen Z generation, they don't say I think it's we're talking. That's
That's
the
right.
equivalent of we're dating.
We're dating.
Gen
Yeah.
X's idea of we're dating. I don't,
Yeah.
there's all, so it's like, it just feels like it's very much stretched out now. There's no, you don't get into dating. You have to work your way to really to,
Yeah.
it's way more complicated. I don't even know all the terms to getting to the point where when you're in relationship, but it's extended. It's not, you
It,
sit down for a
yeah.
date, right? And you like have this chemistry and you feel like you're vibing and you're like, wow, we're together. Let's take her over.
How it used to be.
And so, I've had lots of conversations with people like, I have two adult sons, they're 18 and 20. They have explained to me how things are going today, right? So you're absolutely right. You're talking, and that used to be dating, and then you might be exclusive but you don't have a commitment, or you might have a commitment and decide that you want to be polyamorous, no problem. And then there's, well, we might just do a situationship where we don't actually talk about that we're emotionally committed to one another, or we might just have sex with each other and just take emotions completely out, or we might just, call ourselves friends, but are sleeping together every Friday night. Or it's just wild. And so I have to really step back and go, why on earth did we complicate such a beautiful, simple, like I say simple, right? Because love it's an action. We choose to love someone, right?
Mhm.
So why have we made this so complicated under the guise that we need to put all of these layers in to find the perfect person? Like the perfect person doesn't exist, right? Like, so you want to find someone that you're compatible with on most levels, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually. But if you've got some, I would say, rational thinking behind that, you know that you're never going to find someone who's a perfect fit. So, are we as a society trying to, find that perfect fit as like almost knowing that we're never going to as a way to
Yeah.
not connect?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
making it so complicated it makes it almost impossible to have a connection. But I
And
also
then you
feel
have the
like
excuse, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that person's not for me. We're not on the same page. And like, it's just all these excuses to avoid intimacy. But I also think that it speaks to the continuum in so many ways. Like we have so many terms, like even in the LGBTQ community, there's so many ways of identifying now, gender expression, sexual orientation, that it becomes more complex. And same with dating. There's so many different categories now, the type of dating that we're doing. That it's like, I think there's just, it speaks to the complexity of humanity, I think. And like, how do we deal with that now?
Yeah. Well, and words, so it's interesting because words carry a lot of meaning,
Mm.
but and Denise, I think you said this, but they like they mean different things to different people. And
Yeah.
so even having a conversation, I remember I went on a couple of dates with someone, and I mean 3 or 4 dates, and I just sort of casually said, so, I've enjoyed dating you, and he was like, we're dating? And I was like, we're not? Hold on a minute.
Right. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, well, I thought we were just getting to know each other. I go, well, what's the difference of dating? And he's like, dating is like an intentional. I go, well, I intentionally got dressed and went for dinner with you. Like, if I didn't just bump into you, you you asked me out and I intentionally said yes. So it's I think massively complicated. Again, I think underneath all of this, it's a way to almost protect ourselves.
Yes.
And this is related back to attachment styles, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because I think that a lot of this behavior that keeps us detached from one another is classic avoidant behavior, right? And I think last time we spoke, last week, we talked a little bit about the different attachment styles and how they approach relationships. We can dive in a little bit more into dating and even sex, but really there is, you know, a cohort of our population who are really eager to be coupled, right? Those are our anxious, preoccupied folks. And that's for them, it's because they don't really know how to self-soothe and they don't know how to give themselves validation and reassurance. So they need that external source.
Hmm.
So we all have, I'm sure you've seen this before, where you have a friend that meets someone and they're like, oh, he's the best thing or she's the best thing I've ever met. And yeah, we're moving in together next week. Have you seen
And
this?
you're going, oh shit.
I'm like, is that your second date or your third? It's just
No, we haven't
curious.
even met yet. We're just on the phone.
But yeah, and listen, I don't mean to like laugh,
Oh, I know.
you know, these people, there are real reasons why these people are doing things and there's trauma behind it and you know
Hmm.
there's wounding there. But there is a cohort of our population who is emotionally dysregulated and really needs to be in couplehood, couples. And
Yes.
then there's another cohort of our population that's also emotionally dysregulated, but fears the idea of intimacy greatly, right? That's generally our dismissive avoidant folks. And so these are the folks who were generally neglected in childhood or invalidated, right? So um, they've learned that there's no like, why would I depend on someone else to meet my needs? No one has ever met my needs but myself.
Hmm.
So I'm going to become overly self-reliant, you know, hyper independent. And my view of relationships is going to be like, yeah, we can hang out, but you do you, I'll do me. It's almost like parallel play. Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's like it's a term that describes very young children when they're playing together in a room, and this one's playing with Lego and this one's drawing, and like they're in the same room, but they're completely doing their own things. Parallel play.
Which is healthy in a relationship to be able to have parallel play at times.
Yes.
At
At
times.
times.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the key.
That's
That
Yes.
is, yeah.
the idea of the Venn diagram, right? You're two separate beings and you overlap, you intersect
Yes.
in the center, but you're not
Yes.
completely overlapped where, you know, engulfing each other.
Yeah.
I
And
hear a
so,
lot from our coaching clients when they say that they enjoy a relationship that is modeled that way. And when I ask why, then it's like, oh, because I'm so busy. Yeah, they
mm,
want to be
so you bring up,
separated, they want to be isolated, and maybe we come together every 3 or 4 weeks because it's safe. And then they can go back and say that they're doing their own lives again.
yeah, such a great point you bring up because I think that we have an epidemic of busyness. I mean, everyone's so busy. And, you know, we know that as humans, we prioritize, you know, many things throughout the day. And that there really are very, very few humans, you know, in our world who are too busy to spend time with someone that they really want to spend time with.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because that's the thing that everyone says that they want. right? To
Hmm.
have their person, that person, their support person, their cheerleader, their confidant, their lover. But I'm too busy to meet them, spend time with them, cultivate a relationship, or date them.
Yeah. So I just want them to drop out of the sky and come to me every third Tuesday when I'm free.
Yeah, not realistic.
Realistic.
No, the
I
best thing
know.
I've ever, not the best, it's like the worst that I hear. It's like, I'll meet the person I'm meant to be with when I meet them. It's
Mhm.
like,
That's right.
really? You're not putting
Yeah.
any intention, any energy, any focus on it. You're just sort of like passively walking through life thinking that they might just show up in a box at your door,
Yeah.
or I don't know, fall into your lap somehow.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Organically is the term, right? Organically.
organically. No, that's
Organically,
not how it
how?
works.
That's
That's
right. When you
not how it
don't
works.
talk to anybody, when you don't leave the house, when you don't, we're creatures of habit, post office, store, work, blah, blah, blah. And we've got tunnel vision because we're all afraid to speak or look or make eye contact. But
Yeah.
organically,
Yeah.
it's going to
And
happen.
when we're online at the store, we have a perfect opportunity to connect with one another. What are we doing? We all pull out our phones and we're all just looking down.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I do think our phones, social media, which was always intended to connect us, has actually done the exact opposite, unfortunately. And this whole idea that I'll just meet someone when I meet someone was, I would say, rational thinking. I know when I was younger, but I was in university, living on campus, surrounded by thousands of other students. So the principle, the idea that I'll meet someone when I meet someone was really plausible. At 48 years old,
not so much.
I don't just randomly meet people. The only one who comes to my door is to drop off packages,
Right.
and they're not looking for dates.
Yeah, but the other thing is the idea that you need enough people to be dating, to be exposed to. This is the thing too. Like we
That's
don't
right.
we don't interface with enough new people anymore. Like we don't meet in bars anymore. And
Mm-mm.
when we go to events like, I don't know, community events or things at fundraisers, right? These things where you would think you have opportunities to interface with people who are single. Still,
Mhm.
we've like you said, Denise, we've lost sort of our confidence and our social skills to engage in a
Yeah.
flirtatious way for dating purposes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we access volume in order to make a good decision when we're dating? Because you don't want to just settle on somebody you're like, oh, well, I guess this person will do because I'm not going to meet anybody else for
Anyone
the next
else?
year.
That's
So I'm just
right.
going to date this person. They'll do. They're a warm body. It's like,
And I think that's how situationships emerge too. Some people are like, well, I'll keep this person around until I meet my real person. But we're not really wired that way. Like, I know if I spend significant amount of time with someone,
Mhm.
even if I don't think they're right for me, and then if you add in intimacy and sex, I start to bond with them. That's how my mind works. So now I'm bonding with someone who I know is not the right partner for me. So why would I do that?
yeah.
Right? So this whole like placeholder, I'll just hang out with this person until I meet the right one. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me as a logical approach either.
You're losing
But
time.
you're right.
You're
You're
losing
losing
Yeah.
time.
We're losing
Yeah.
time. That's right. That's
And
right.
and self-respect too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And also it is, listen, I've spent since my separation 4 years ago, I have spent some of the loneliest nights because I didn't know what it was to be alone. I just didn't know.
Mm.
I had been with someone for so long. Um, and he was a wonderful partner and he was always there. And like I always felt his warmth. And, I was surrounded by my kids. And so I had to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable because none of us like the feeling of loneliness.
Mhm.
It's terrible, right? But you have to sort of sit in it and go, okay, there's a reason why I'm experiencing this right now. And I have to learn to just recognize that this is going to pass,
Yeah.
right? Like the one thing that we know to be true is that everything passes. The good times and the bad times.
Yeah.
Everything passes in time. So, and it was actually part of my own healing as well, because, and this goes back into a little bit of these short-term dating strategies. When we have these uncomfortable feelings, like I feel lonely, or I feel sad, or I feel rejected, whatever it may be, we do have a big cohort of people that decide that they're going to engage in short-term, meaningless, sexual relations or pseudo relationships. They're going to dip their toe in and then dip right back out. And they're going to, this, in my opinion, is really just to assuage all of that, uncomfortable feeling. It's a distraction,
Yes.
right? It's a coping mechanism. We do know that sex is, for many people, especially those who are insecurely attached, sex is a great distraction and coping mechanism. Sex can be very addictive. We know that, right? Sex is right up there with, I don't know, binge eating, or getting addicted to pornography or gambling or alcohol or drugs. All of the things that we do when we're confronted with feelings that are uncomfortable for us, and we're like, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to just run the other way and grab the vodka, go have sex, and tomorrow I'll feel better.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a part of the equation of why our society now is just so focused on these short term. It's this disconnection from, our authentic self, our emotions. And when we're disconnected, we can't possibly connect on an authentic level to anyone else.
Yeah.
Right. So we're seeing a lot of this short-term behavior. And this is very, very common with folks, for example, who are dismissive avoidant. We talked about the fact that they believe relationships should be easy. They've got an idea that I'll take care of my needs, you take care of yours, and I'll see you when I have time. Right? And again, it's not, I want to be careful when we talk about attachment styles, because we're talking about learned behavior. We're
Yes.
never talking, it's not mental illness, it's the learned behavior. It's, we all have an attachment style. People throw around words like narcissism, and this one had borderline personality. I'm really not a fan of diagnosing people like this, right? But what I can tell you is that it's well known that dismissive avoidance have a pattern where they were breadcrumbed in childhood. Right. And so as adults, that's what they do to their romantic partners. It's a pattern that they're repeating. They're not saying, how can I screw up your day?
Yeah.
Let me send you a
It's not
little
personal.
something.
It's
Not,
not, yeah,
not personal. I think that, of course, we take
good
it
point.
personally, like they're just not that into me.
Right.
But actually, they don't know.
That's what
They're
they're
too
doing.
afraid.
It's
Either they don't
unconscious.
know, or they're too afraid to get close, right? Because they're just modeling what they have been taught.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
They've been, and the folks who are anxious, preoccupied, who are clingy, and this, again, who are termed to be clingy and needy. We all have needs. We're all needy to some degree, but need a lot of external validation. They're also repeating a pattern from childhood, right? They would have experienced some form of abandonment, and they're afraid that their romantic love is going to abandon them. It's their biggest fear. And so that person might exhibit behaviors like calling their partner 4 times a day. Are we good? Yeah, I'm just checking in because I haven't heard from you since 3 o'clock. Well, it's only 4. I was in a meeting. Like, because they're constantly worried,
Right.
right? And so the behavior itself can seem really frustrating and annoying, but it comes from a place of emotional dysregulation. So that's why, in a nutshell, bringing it all back.
Like, if you're wanting to be in a relationship with somebody who
Mhm.
is like, maybe like most of us we talked about this last week, which is, 50% of the population is securely attached. The rest
Mhm.
is, somehow struggling with an attachment issue. How do you find somebody who's like, ready, like wanting to be in a relationship and willing to do the work? And this is it. It's like people will ask us, Dr. Frankie, or they'll ask my team, where do we find that? Where do we find the relationship minded women? Where do we go?
Okay. I love that question. I have notes, so I am preparing here because I've got some fun stuff to share here. So hold on.
Because I
So
know you're
so
dating. I know you're dating. So how are you doing it? Are there keywords you're looking for in dating profiles? What do you look? Give us some clues.
So dating profiles are hit or miss. So the one thing that I realized is that dating profiles are not always written by the individual. Sometimes they're written by other people. It's not uncommon for example, a man to ask his sister to write him a good profile. So I take that with a grain of salt, right? That's just the initial. But I do look at things like, have they put in an effort to fill out some of the prompts, right? Are they telling me a little bit about themselves? Are they, putting in an effort to have reasonable pictures? Men, by the way, there should be an entire course on how to take pictures. They have no idea how to take pictures. I don't understand. The camera's always in the wrong place. You're looking up their nose. Nobody looks good. I don't know how they get any dates. So I'll just say that's like the first thing. But moving on from that, I generally will text for one day. Now, this is not for everyone. I'll tell you that it's me because I cannot ascertain someone's intelligence, emotional stability, vibe, personality, sense of humor through text. Text is the worst form of communication that exists.
Agreed.
Like it's great if, Denise, I'm like, I'm heading to the restaurant, see you in 10 minutes. Everything else that requires context and a little bit of tone, it's terrible.
Yes.
So I even have it on my profile. I don't text. If you want to get to know me, I much prefer to have a phone call. So I move to a phone call really quickly. And then you can tell right away, okay, did they write their own profile, right? Is what they're saying, yeah, is what they're saying matching up? Do they have a certain intelligence? Do they sound educated? Those are things that are important to me. I'm not suggesting, for everyone. And then the emotional regulation piece, that comes a little bit later. If the initial vibe check is good, I will meet them for a coffee. I don't, and I know there's even debates about that, a coffee date. That's not good enough. And I'm like, that's all I want.
That's right.
Like, first of all, I don't want to be locked into a dinner for 3 hours,
Mhm.
right? So,
Right.
and if we get along, then great. A few days later, we'll go for dinner, right? But so when I'm on that initial dates, there's a couple of things that I pick up on. We'll start with language. Okay. So here we're talking about, really trying to discern if someone is emotionally regulated, um,
Mhm.
because this gives us an indication of their attachment style. So where's the connection? Someone who's securely attached is generally pretty well regulated. It doesn't mean that they don't have, changes in their moods, but they're generally much more steady. Their moods don't change quickly. They have far less triggers. Their triggers are intense. So they're the people who are usually a little bit calmer, right?
On the day, throughout the day, or the
Well,
entire process.
and in general, anyone who has a
Mhm.
secure attachment, they've got a really good sense of self and they're trusting of others. And so they go through life with a lens of life is all about connection, right? So I'm happy to meet you and see where it goes. And they're easygoing in that
Yes.
sense.
Like
Yeah.
they're not waiting
Okay.
for the shoe to drop.
That's
Right.
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And someone who has an insecure attachment, they have a very different perspective. because they didn't learn emotional safety as a child. They also didn't learn, it wasn't modeled for them, emotional regulation as a child. They bring this
Mhm.
into adulthood, and their perception and their lens is survival, not
Mhm.
connection. Life is about survival.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
what they do is starkly different, right? So that's why if you listen to people's words, you can pick up on where they're coming from. So I'm gonna throw a few things out. It'll probably make you laugh. I'm hoping it does. So if you're on a date, okay, some of the things, these are from my personal experiences, a lot of them. Some of the things you should be listening for, right? Your partner, your date says to you, we broke up because my partner had problems.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like they're perfect and it's all their partner's
yeah,
fault.
that's right.
The
It's all
fact
their
that the
partner's fault.
relationship failed is on the partner.
That's right.
That's right. So nothing to say that you picked your partner. In today's day and age, there's not a lot of arranged partnerships and marriages. Some are,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
and no accountability or even recognition that you might have contributed to the demise of the outcome, of that relationship. My partner had problems, that's why it didn't work out. So I would say that that's a flag.
Hmm. Is that an orange flag
Another,
or a red flag?
I tell people color it the way you want. I say it's a flag, and because for some people, it's a mild flag. For other people, it's like a more moderate flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like hearing that. When I hear that, I go, hmm.
Mhm.
If their
Yeah.
last partner or their last couple partners, had an issue with attachment and they see that on the date, they're running. That's a red flag. That's a deal breaker. It's usually the deal
Yeah.
breakers come from personal experience. I bet somebody who hasn't, they've come out of like relationships with people who are securely attached. They might call that an orange flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have
So
more
I think,
tolerance.
yeah. So people will color them
Good
as they
point.
want,
Good point.
but
Yeah.
like take notice is what I'm saying. So other ones here, I've had people say this to me, like, so what are you looking for in a partner or a date or, and they say, I want someone to make me happy.
Oh, yeah.
People say that.
Yes. Most of this stuff comes from my own dating experience. So you can
How do you even
imagine,
respond to that? I'd be like, wait, what? You want
no,
somebody to make
Yeah.
you happy?
so,
You would like
in
them
my mind,
to complete you? Like
To
in that
complete you.
Jerry
That's
Maguire
right.
movie?
That's right. Or like you could substitute the word happy, make me laugh, make me this, make me that, make me, right?
so whenever I hear that, I kind of chuckle because in my mind, I get this little image, I don't know why, of this like trained seal that's doing tricks to make people happy at SeaWorld. And I'm like, am I your form of entertainment? Like, this is ridiculous.
That's
Are
right.
you, we
I'm
all
here to serve
know,
you.
yeah, you want someone to make you happy. Well, if you're not already happy, I'm not so interested,
That's
right?
right.
So
Yeah.
that's a big indicator. Yeah. If you listen close enough, people will tell you everything you need to know. I always tell people that. Yeah. So my next favorite, I don't do drama. You don't do what? I don't do drama. So I'm like, what does drama mean? When a woman gets all emotional and this, so you don't do that? You don't have emotions? I mean, I have emotions, but I know how to control my emotions. Okay. So right then and there, a person that would say that is afraid of vulnerability or having to interact with someone at an emotional depth that is important to me. I'm looking for someone who can go deep. That's what I like. I like transparency, honesty, depth of conversation, and you're not always going to agree. So, what's this fear coming from?
Okay, so I have a question. I'll play devil's advocate.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay.
what if this person came out of a relationship with somebody who was really emotionally unstable? Say they came out of a relationship with somebody who had borderline personality disorder, even though I know it, like, we don't want to diagnose, but somebody who comes out of like a very chaotic, right, interpersonal way of relating. And they're
And
like,
that's what
they
they're
were,
defining as drama. Is
say
that
it
what you're
again.
saying? Is
I didn't,
that what they're defining as the drama?
yeah. So they're
Okay.
so averse to it, because that's what I've learned is from being a matchmaker is like people will,
Yes.
what they fear most happening again in their life is going to kind of be like what is going to come out in the first date, second date. They're going to share those things. And then one of those things is like, I don't do drama, because they came out of a very volatile relationship with somebody or multiple people because they were
Mhm,
choosing wrong, right?
mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
And now they're averse to it. So maybe we're misinterpreting. I don't know. You tell me,
So
Beth.
here we go again. We're using so many different words and it means different
Right,
things to different people, right?
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's an exceptional point. What drama means to one person means to someone else. So one person describes that they don't like when someone's overly emotional, it makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay. And then another person really doesn't want to get back into a situation where there's true volatility, mental illness, and I understand that. But the word drama for me has like been bastardized. Like, what do you, I don't know what it means. It just sort of means like, I want just the good times and none of the struggle. And it's like, but we're humans, right? Like we have, fluctuations. That's normal. Someone who truly has experienced, a high degree of volatility, I would expect them to say something more along the lines of, I need peace in my life. And I use this. I
Mhm.
say, I need peace in my life. It's important that I'm, with someone who's emotionally regulated, and who knows how to handle their emotions, even under stressful times.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. I think so too. So it's the word drama. And I think it's because I've seen so many internet memes about this. And maybe I'm personally offended by it too, because it's often depicted as a female who is being emotional,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
hysterics.
so
Yeah.
Hysterical.
it's a little
Hysterical.
it's or hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although we don't call men's emotional explosions, which are usually around anger and frustration, because that's what they're more conditioned, allowed to show in our society. We don't call that drama.
Yeah, which it
So
is. I mean,
Which is,
it is, right?
yeah.
it's no
But it
different.
seems to be a word reserved for women.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think maybe that's part of why it sort of grates on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the word like drama used to describe
Oh my
a man's
gosh.
behavior?
No, it's like
I
drama queen for women.
yeah, I was gonna say drama queen, but still a very negative, right? But I
Yeah.
also know that that word is like, it takes the place of what people call messy. They don't want drama. They don't want the
Oh,
chaos of, your family's involved in, or your co-parents involved, or,
okay.
you create drama wherever you go because you just are needing attention or just needing to be the center. So when I hear it, it makes me think when someone says, I don't want drama, I think, well, what drama have you gone through? What have you participated in the past that's making you say that now?
Yeah, it's such a good point. Drama comes in so many different forms. So, yeah. So it's an interesting one. I think it's just sort of like I hear it a lot. It says a whole bunch and it says nothing at the same time. So
Very
I'm going to keep going with some of the
yeah.
things that
Okay.
would, again, give you an idea that someone may be emotionally dysregulated, right? Like take note. I just want someone normal, is what someone has
Oh,
told me before.
we hear that a lot. Do you
Right.
hear that a lot, Dr. Frankie? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like it's worse than the word drama. What the hell does normal mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's just
so I just, and so this is usually in response to the question, what are you looking for? I just want someone normal. Because the last person you dated was abnormal? Like,
Because
I don't
Bev, it's
understand.
so tough out there for some folks that they are just like, just give me kind. They show up, they're impeccable with their word. Like that's what they so, and they're not getting that. And so that's where
Mhm.
that's coming from. Like, please, just like someone that isn't crazy is what they're saying. I know it's
Yeah.
not nice, it's not correct, but
And what's
So, but
normal anyway? Like you got then if you put it back on them.
that's what I do. I say what's normal. That's,
Okay, can you
yeah,
tell me what that
yeah.
is? And
Tell
then
me what
what's the
that is.
response?
Then it is someone that is wanting relationship, someone that's not going to play games with me, someone
okay,
that, yeah, is really who they say they are. They're not going to ghost me. They're not going to, right? So really they want someone that's intentional and wants relationship. And that to them is
okay.
like me, right? That's what they're saying, like me, because I think I'm normal.
That's the key. That's the key. So, like attracts like. A lot of these people, in my experience, who say things like this, like the
Mhm.
drama and the normal, and I want someone nice, whatever, they don't realize that they themselves are also emotionally dysregulated, and that's why they are drawn to certain
Attracted.
partners. So what they say they want and what their subconscious mind pulls them towards are two different things. And
Mhm.
there's a discrepancy there, right? And so you probably hear this all the time. I don't know why I keep attracting the wrong person. Well,
Like
I
keep
know why.
attracting. Yeah. Well,
Because
Bev,
yeah,
that's so
you're
hard for
replaying these
people
dynamics.
to, that's so hard for people to own though, that
I know.
I'm the second part of this equation. This is who I
I
chose.
know.
Yeah.
I know, but like, so, and this is why I think again, the work is hard, right? So,
Yeah.
if you want someone who is honest and transparent and loyal and communicative as a partner, first become that person.
Be the
Work
partner
on
to myself.
yourself to become
Mhm.
that person, and like attracts like. Then you will go out on a date with someone and they will see those beautiful qualities in you, but I think that people are stopping short in their own assessment. Like, they have a laundry list of things they want for their partner, but they themselves, like I've had this happen before where I've had like I told the partner that I went out on a couple of dates with him, and what's important to you? I always say emotional regulation. Oh, I'm completely regulated. Okay, great. Uh, the next date, we go to a movie theater, and he set up a beautiful date for us. He bought the tickets in advance, and he picked me up, and it was a lovely date until we got to the popcorn concession stand, and there was a group in front of us with 8 children. It looked like a little birthday party, right? So these two parents are frantically trying to buy 8 bags of popcorn and 8 sodas for this whole little group of kids that they have. And you could see the anger. It turned into rage building in him. It shouldn't take this long. Why are they buying 8 bags? I'm like, because I think they're trying to get a bag for each one of the kids over there, right? We picked the wrong line. Now we're going to be late. He was livid. And then he actually tapped on the shoulder of the man. He goes, "Are you finished? We're going to meet. We're going to miss our movie." I could not believe how emotionally, in that moment, how angry he got because he was impatient. Small little thing. He had to wait 5 minutes and he became incredibly impatient. So, again, if you listen to people and you observe, you can see how they handle even the smallest of stressful moments. And if I can tell you, we weren't late for the movie, we already had our seats picked out. There was no consequence to us being 5, 6, 7 minutes late. He got the popcorn. And then, even after that, he turned to me and he goes, "That's how long it's supposed to take." And I was like, Thank you. And I was so disappointed because I was like, really? This is where you're at. And I
Never saw him again.
that was a, I did know he did not get
You
a third
ghosted
date.
him.
He dined and dashed.
I never ghost because I think that's one of the most disrespectful things you can do. But I did send him a message saying, I don't think we're emotionally compatible,
Yeah.
is what I said. Right? Which was my way of saying, you're emotionally dysregulated. I'm looking for a life partner. If that's going to throw you off, uh, come on,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Because life throws you much bigger curveballs than that. So yeah, be observation, what they say, it tells you everything you need to know. So okay, another one that I hear. So I'll ask a date, what do you want? Or what are you looking for? And they'll say, I want someone who can go with the flow. So it's interesting. Most men, my observation is 75 to 80% of men will describe themselves as laid
Mhm.
back. I have yet to meet one man who's laid back. You know, it's like they don't recognize that we all have triggers. It's just our triggers are different. Mine are not the same as yours, right?
Mhm.
So I'm laid back. I want someone who goes with the flow. That tells me immediately that you're afraid of commitment, intimacy. I'm going to keep you in a gray
Yes.
zone.
You
I
are like
hope.
blowing my mind right.
Am I? Like in
Yes.
a good
Just in an awareness way, right? So that's a good way because go with the flow is not, I can adapt. I think so. Go with the flow. There's another one that means something different to every person. Go with the flow is I can adapt. If we're going this way, I'm going to go that way, and it's okay. I'm going to express my needs, but I'm not going to make a big deal. I'm going to choose my battles. That's what go with the flow means to me. I don't know, Frankie. What
But
does go with the flow mean?
yeah, so it sounds like, Bev, from your perspective and your
Yes.
experience,
Yes.
that more often than not, men don't really go with the flow. So when they lead with that, they're actually saying something they really wish they were capable of doing, but they don't actually,
They don't actually do it.
from
Okay.
her
Okay.
experience.
So
Hear it
it's a
that way.
little deeper. It's a little deeper, and I love that we keep coming back to language and how it means something different for people, right? When I hear someone say, "I want to go with the flow," that tells me that they're unintentional. We're going to meet and hey, we'll see what happens, right? They don't really have a plan. A committed relationship is not really something that they're sort of aiming for. They're usually, in this case, in my experience, they're looking for companionship. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Um,
Let's see how
but
it
More
unfolds. That kind
casual.
of a, okay,
More,
real casual.
yeah.
Okay, okay. I can hear that.
more casual, non-committal, non-intentional. So I have yet to meet a person who's securely attached that says, I want to go with the flow. What they say instead is, I am interested in a relationship, but I'd like to get to know someone first. So, I move at like a reasonable pace. No problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Totally different, right?
I just realized in the time we're almost at the top. So
Oh my gosh.
but one
Yeah.
quick thing. So just with all these things, when they hit your radar, when they say that term or that expression, do you then give them a benefit of the doubt and be a little like curious and probe a little bit more to make
I
sure
do.
to make sure,
I
okay,
do.
that your judgment or whatever, that your impression of them is right, not just based on one thing. Yeah.
100%. Like we all
Yeah.
have layers. So I'm sharing with you things that I've heard that have sort of raised my spidey senses.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, of course, I try to approach a curiosity, ask some questions. It's never just one thing. It's never just one thing. Um, this one, again, what is it that you're looking for? I'm figuring out my dating goals. And I see this actually on apps too. I'm figuring out my dating goals. Well, you're 54 years old. You've been you've been never married. you have no children and you're figuring out your dating goals. So I'm like, oh, how's that going?
How's that working out for you?
How's that working? Right.
I think,
Yeah.
we all have human needs, right? We talk about the 6 human needs, and certainty is pretty important for me.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of women also look for certainty. Nobody wants to be dragged on this path of uncertainty and like, we'll see where it goes. So those are, some of those key terms that we hear. But again, I think it's really my experience is that when someone is emotionally dysregulated, they generally also have an insecure attachment style. And we know this can be worked on. But I like to ask some of the tougher questions because you're not going to really find out about anyone like talking about the weather or whatever sports. It's also that I enjoy having in-depth conversations. That's a personality need of mine. So I get bored if we're talking about the weather. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Time is of the essence. Like, get to it. I mean, you're on a
Get
first
to it.
date. You want to see, do I want to see this person again? Is it worth my time?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And
yeah.
so, and then there's a whole set of situations. I'll go through these really quickly.
Okay, really quick, Bev. Going over,
Okay,
over. All right, fast. You got
are
1
we?
We got to do part 3.
Uh, oh, well, maybe I'll save it for that then. That's fine. But I think that, again, um, there are many people in this world who crave, companionship and affection, but they're not in a position in life where they can offer something to someone, and they don't realize how emotionally dysregulated, even if normally they're emotionally regulated, but how they could possibly be emotionally dysregulated because they're in the midst of a really stressful time.
Mhm.
So I have so many men who want to date me when they're in the middle of their divorce.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't like, finish your divorce, heal, call me in 2 years.
So,
I just like
oh my gosh. All right, Bev,
that's
just say it real quick. I know that we're going to put it all in our show notes. How can folks find you? Anybody who
I
wants
love
to
our
date Bev,
conversation.
now you know exactly what not to say.
But not to say.
So this is the cliff notes. So get in there.
Maybe
Go
I am a
get.
bit tough. I know I am a bit tough, but
No, but I think that in this world, I think that you're direct, and I think that
yeah,
there is there's a reason to ask the deeper questions, right? Just because of what we discussed today, go with the flow means so many different things, and if we're accepting that answer, we really don't know what this person means, right?
yes, that's
We
exactly it.
absolutely, I mean, so yeah.
So
And
Bev,
if you get yourself into a
Okay.
situation or whatnot, it's just I'm still talking. Okay, how
Okay.
can they find me?
Yes.
yes, short and sweet.
No, my website is securelyloved.com. We're a group of practitioners working in relationships and attachment trauma. We do individual counseling, group counseling, couple counseling, and we're all over social media. So YouTube, Instagram, and now TikTok. My son's taught me how to use TikTok, so we're on TikTok too. So thank you both
Thank
Yeah.
for the
you.
time. This
Thank.
was
This
fun
is
as
always
always.
great, like always, and the 2 times. Now it's always for me. See, there's another term.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. This is
Bye.
bye.